Hello, you beautiful people. Welcome back to the Long Term Podcast. I'm your host, Advin Villa, and today we have Chemical Engineering in Training and University of Alberta Alumni, Matthew Yanick. All right, we are back again here with the Matthew Yanick.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so tell me what it's like being an Eng student, and now that you're working for which company are you with?
So currently, I graduated from the university back in winter semester of 2023, and I've been working for the same company since about May, which is a company called Plante Technologies. They're a startup biological processing company.
Right.
So we take natural materials and convert it into a useful product for a various amount of different industries. So oil and gas, agricultural, stuff like that. So I'm working as a process EIT and plant operator. But my roles extend far beyond just those titles, because the company is just a startup. It's small enough that I am turning wrenches, right?
I know there's a lot of responsibility, especially when it's a startup.
Oh,
right.
Yeah,
you kind of have to get your hands dirty because it's not just specified to the one role, right? When it's a startup, you have to kind of be on the field and learn this and learn that and all these things that maybe did you expect these things to pop up? Or
Well, the thing is, I definitely knew that it was going to be, my role was going to be bigger than just an engineer in training there.
Right.
But it's like, I clean the bathrooms. It's part of it, right? But I'm also consulted for my technical ability at the same time, and they really value how mechanical I am, I guess. Like, I grew up fixing cars with my dad and stuff like that, so and I like to tinker, so being able to mechanically understand what's going on is really helpful because I can help put things together, fabricate, or stuff like that.
I feel like that's so rewarding, right? When it's like, when you see this business go from, how many workers did when you first started working, how many were you guys?
I guess it was 2. One of them was a student.
2, wait, and you're the third one.
Oh, I guess I'm technically employee number 1.
What?
Yeah. So
wow. I
was the first one hired, other than the board of directors at the company. So.
Wow.
And then
now, how many now?
We have 4 additional people other than me. One is more administrative, and the rest are kind of plant operators like myself. But they all have varying different backgrounds. There's somebody who's like 19 and who has a passion for heavy equipment operation. There's a gentleman who I worked with in my capstone design course in university, so he comes from the same kind of background as me. We have a class 4 power engineer working with us now, so we're getting perspectives from a lot of different places.
And what's the vision that the company has, let's say a year from now or a decade from now?
Ooh. Well, fulfilling orders. That's a big thing, get cash flow in the company. But I think I guess our slogan is like helping nature heal itself, right? Mm-hmm. So we're trying to substitute harmful or damaging chemicals to the environment for something more natural, potentially more effective, and at a better price.
Can you elaborate on that? Some more natural. So you're talking about the sun, wind, or solar energy, or
so. Currently, we're producing a product called LCM, which is a downhole drilling additive.
Right.
For substantially cheaper than its replacement, and it's made from only natural materials, which we make with our proprietary process, basically.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's is it all from Edmonton?
We're based in Sturgeon County. I think the company used to be in Lacombe.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you see yourself being with this company for a very long time?
I want to. I'd love to say it's a passion project, because I feel so connected with the work environment. like I enjoy the people that I work with. I feel like I'm doing work that is good and am contributing, I guess, to put it, as you've said before. You said degenerative is, but the opposite, constructive.
Yeah.
I'm doing something constructive, which is really nice.
It's probably really fulfilling, hey, seeing this, because I know with a lot of people struggle with corporate when it gets so big that it's just like you go and it's a 9 to 5 and then you're just viewed as a number. But when you're with the startup, you get to see this, you know, company grow, you know, from just 2 workers and now there's 4.
Yeah.
And it's just so fulfilling, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
The 12-hour days, they feel so much more purposeful.
Yeah. There is a very interesting dynamic to that, though, because I mean, I started out being one of the first 2 like workers, and there wasn't much in the place where in our plant that I didn't personally put my hands on. Like I was helping put stuff together. So it's weird because when we had hired another 4 people initially, I had to take a step back and you know, give up this thing that I had been like so involved with. Right. And I actually ended up talking to my boss about that.
Okay, I want that.
he said, well, how do you think I felt when we had people join such as you? And I was like, oh, okay, I totally get it. It's like, it's your baby, right? You
as more people go into the company, you'd have to give up some of your responsibilities, right? So you could focus on be more focused, have more time on a specialty.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I guess trying to put my degree to use in that. Right. I can do other things other than turn wrenches. But
is there you want to give your company a shout out? You know, for anybody who wants to.
Plante Technologies. We're based out of Sturgeon County. A really awesome group of people to work with and work for. And one of the best things about working there is I really feel like they value hard work and, you know, like putting in just a little bit of extra effort goes a long way in any workplace. But I've noticed that here, and I've also noticed that at my previous workplace too. Like,
and where do you apply?
Well, where do you apply? You'd have to reach out. I imagine there's emails on the company website, but which is planteenviro.com.
Yeah. So I want to talk about your time as an engineering student. And actually, for those of you listening, Matthew says he has PTSD from the first year, was it?
First year was particularly bad.
First year in full PTSD. And, you know, talking to Eng students, I'm not surprised, right? I feel like a lot of Eng students do feel that way. Hey, Ed, can you tell me about that
okay.
journey?
PTSD might be a little bit of an exaggeration. I do honestly, like, I still have nightmares about school to this day. That's not a joke, but it was so difficult and not. Well, I guess the first thing that comes to mind when people are like, "Oh, how do you do Eng student? That's so tough." The first thing that comes to mind is not difficulty, but like quantity. You're just bombarded with stuff, right? Stuff you have to do. You have to try and prioritize the weights of different assignments in classes and how much they matter, while also trying to balance a social life, and you know, sleep and sleep deprivation was probably one of the worst parts of first year for me, because there was a point in time where I was averaging 4 hours of sleep a night, and I don't remember going between my classes.
I remember you were telling me you would black out. Yeah. Like full blocks where you just reflect on the day and you're just, wait, that happened? Or how did I get here?
How did I get here?
Were you driving to school or?
No, thankfully not.
Okay.
I was busing.
Okay.
But,
good.
Yeah.
Like what about to Bethel? To the transfer term?
Oh yeah, I remember that. The worst part was like midday. I also didn't eat a lot at the time too, because like I was like, so busy.
Geez.
So like I'd go from like my class at CSIS at the bottom level, and then I'd go to a different classroom, and I was like, hold on a second, I don't remember switching classrooms, but I'm here in math class now, so it's a little strange. But yeah, it was definitely a rough time, and the best thing I think about doing engineering though was it taught resilience. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people should give themselves like more credit when it comes to like intelligence and stuff, and like a lot of people say, oh, I could never be an engineer. I think a lot more people could, if they didn't take that initial mindset and they reframe it as like, it's not necessarily super difficult, it's just a lot at once, and you kind of have to push yourself to persevere through that. Mm-hmm. Which is tough at times. I mean, there's at least once a semester I was probably legitimately considering quitting. Yeah. Maybe until my last year started looking up a little better, but just like the overwhelming course load and like as somebody with anxiety, mm-hmm. There were classes with like public speaking, and that was always really difficult too. And you kind of just manage to put your head down and push through it, but it is difficult.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing worth having comes easy though.
That's for sure.
Going back to resiliency, yeah. and then doubt, and how people don't give themselves enough credit, mm-hmm. right? You'd be shocked, like looking back, right? And you reflect on your first year, mm-hmm. you know, and then the year after, and then the year after, and eventually you finish. Now you're with this company, and mm-hmm. you guys, and you're passionate about it. You look back and you realize, wow, I got through this thing, and there were so many times where I quit, but I didn't. But imagine if you did.
Yeah.
Right? Then what? then what?
Things would be looking very different. I honestly, I don't know what I would at the time if I did quit. I don't know what I would have done, because I didn't have a backup plan, and that probably also contributed to why I didn't, because I was like, I don't know what I would do if I wasn't doing.
But I'm sure, knowing you would find something else. Yeah. I mean, there's to give up, right? You can give up on school, right? Mm-hmm. But you can't give up on life, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And like that's an ongoing issue, right? A lot of people do that, but there's always lights at the end of the tunnel.
Oh yeah.
And no matter how difficult it may seem, right? You look back onto these times where you're tested, and you realize like those are you appreciate the good times even more. Oh, because you're so you're in a much better state, mm-hmm. and then looking back and you compare it, you're like, wow, it can be really bad. Yeah. Now I'm in a better place, right?
Yeah, I do think for me, mm-hmm. school was one of the lowest times in my life. Mm-hmm. In terms of physical health, mental health.
Right.
And so to see myself push through that is really nice. And I mean, I didn't do it all myself. There's a lot of people that helped me through that. I mean, when it comes to school, there's lots of classmates, and there's engineering. One of the big things in engineering is mutual suffering.
Yeah.
Like
you talk to other people.
You're like, wow, that math assignment was really tough, right? Yeah. And they're like, yeah, I totally get what you're going through.
Right.
Whereas like, I definitely vented to my parents about it, and they were like, oh yeah, you can, oh, did you try starting your assignments early? And
no, they don't get it.
It's more so like they're trying to help you solve your problems, but sometimes you just want somebody to hear you.
Yeah, you talk to your buddy and you're, I bombed that test. I studied for 6 hours. It still wasn't enough. And they're like, yeah, I studied for 12 hours and it still wasn't enough.
Yeah.
And I feel that. I'm not an eng, but there's some classes that are a bit tough.
Yeah.
You mentioned doubt. Now, when you were doubting yourself, mm-hmm. how did you just push through? Did you have to talk to someone? Did someone have to talk you out of quitting? How did you kind
of... There were definitely 2 or 3 times where I was talking to my parents saying, mm-hmm. I feel like I'm struggling so much, mm-hmm. and, this is really tough. And they were saying, like, if you did quit, we're still proud of you. However, that kind of fueled the fire beneath me, because I'm like, I don't have to. I can make it through this. It's tough, but and then I guess the idea of like I really don't know what I would have done outside of that. Like I was enjoying what I was learning in school, but I couldn't see myself doing anything else.
Mm-hmm. when you're bombarded with so much information, though, you said lack of sleep and you're doubting yourself. I mean, how long did that last the entire year?
First year,
right?
Probably.
What?
Yeah.
Did you see the doctor at any point? Or?
No, I just kind of started. Well, I guess when it came to, because I did one semester of school that was not in COVID, so it was like one whole semester, my first semester, and then March of second semester, everything went online. So that was kind of, I guess, my saving grace in first year, is that I was able to get more sleep because I didn't have to bus to school every day. So that saved me like 2 hours. I could wake up 5 minutes before my class starts. And in a way, I think that really helped some of the issues I was having there at that time. However, I know like COVID was not good for a lot of people for school. I think a lot of people liked school for the social aspect of it. But I just felt it was so efficient for me.
COVID?
Yeah.
Can you elaborate?
Like, I didn't have to waste time commuting to school. I had all of the tools I need to complete my assignments right in front of me, like 2 steps from my bed. And you could kind of do school asynchronously at the time. So if a class was really early, it was probably recorded and put up later, so you can kind of manage it on your own time, so long as you actually do manage it. Because I know some people will put it aside and then a week before the semester ends start watching those lectures at 1.5 times speed, which I have done, but definitely do not recommend.
Yeah. Did you procrastinate much?
When it came to some classes, I think a lot of classes in Eng are, it's detrimental that you keep up with them. Like, it's crucial that you keep up with them because of the midterms. But some of my options classes that were definitely more lax than our like math classes or our science classes were, I was able to kind of put on the back burner. And just because I guess I have a pretty decent memory, I could try and take in all that information right before the test, complete the test, and then purge it all, you know? That's like,
that's what a lot of people tell me.
Yeah.
Right? With test taking, with classes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
The way you do things, it's just like, I don't know if it's the system, man. It's just, you absorb all these things, all these facts and the formulas, and you put in so much time, and then maybe you get an 80, maybe you fail. But then you forget after the final.
Yeah.
You just forget.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't know, that's just, I feel like the school definitely just teaches you about discipline, right? Because I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of the things that you learn, you just forget, right?
Yeah. Well, it's discipline, but also like learning how to learn.
Yeah.
Like, for me, I noticed one of the kind of key takeaways I had in my third and fourth year of university is that you're trying to learn for the test, and you're trying to solve problems that are going to be on the test. So your biggest study guide should be previous tests, because the questions are all similar. So instead of trying to broaden your understanding of a topic, you're being shoehorned into, how do I answer these questions that are going to be on my test, not how do I solve these problems in a wide variety of ways, which is almost counterproductive to the idea of engineering as a whole, because you're a problem solver.
And right? there's a skill to that. Right?
it's really strange, but yeah, I don't know. That's why, like, fourth year, when you do your capstone courses, if you don't know what a capstone course is, it's kind of the accumulation and use of all your skills up until that point. So you factor in a lot of the stuff you learned in various different classes to complete like a major project, where the answer to your problem or your project or your design isn't black and white. There's no correct answer. It's how do you design it? How do you design it to work efficiently and robustly? And using all the skills you've accrued up until that point. So that's like the most realistic version of, or the most realistic aspect of school I've found in work so far, is that it's collaborative work and it doesn't always have a right answer, which is, for a lot of people that go into Eng that are very logical thinkers, it's weird to have a gray answer instead of black and white.
And I mean, you work with people, right? And onto this, you mentioned this project.
Yes.
And what are you give out rules when you get assigned into a group project.
Yeah.
Right? And you're saying most of the engineering students, they're more logical. Right? How did you guys come about, choosing a person to write this up, choosing a person to research this topic, and how did that come about?
Well, I think in my case, my group we kind of knew each other, but kind of developed a stronger bond through the class. But we all luckily kind of specialized in different ways. I like, when it comes to engineering, I like drawings and I like design. Other people were better at, reading. I have awful reading comprehension, which is, it happens, but, some people can digest a lot of information, regurgitate it in a way that a lot of the rest of our members don't have to, sit down and read 50 pages of process design. Some people are good at computation and mathematics, and some people are better at writing than others. I mean, I'm pretty awful at writing myself, so it was nice to have other people that kind of stepped up to do that for our group. In other cases, it probably had group members doing a bit of everything, but in my opinion, I think that's not a super efficient way to go about it. Because everybody has to know enough about everything to do all of the roles, whereas specialization kind of helps improve your efficiency.
And communication is such an essential part of it, right? Because if you're working on something and your team member or one of the team members doesn't know, right? It's just like, how do you know what he's doing too if you're not telling them? And it's just you get into this big argument, or if the deadline's there, and then you start getting into a lot of trouble that way.
Oh yeah, of course.
Just a lot of studying and a lot of group work, and finally you did it. You got the ring.
Yeah.
You still have it right now?
Yeah.
Oh man, you showed me that. I did not know they had a ring for
students. It's really cool.
Yeah.
I was very much looking forward to that when I came out of school. Because it's kind of like a trophy that I get to take with me everywhere.
Yeah, no, I take pride in that.
Yeah.
You ever almost lose it and just forget?
Yeah, I dropped it at a party once.
Yeah.
And like a basement party, like a frat.
Wow.
Party.
So you had to really scrounge for
that. Had a flashlight out and was looking for shiny objects on the floor.
And when you're looking for something as well, everybody's looking with you.
Yeah.
Right? You ever notice that? Because remember, I'm anxious about certain things. People get anxious around me too, and this is the idea of emotional contagion.
Wow.
Where you ever notice that? Okay, when you lose something, if somebody's just your dad's reading the paper or something, when your parents are in the living room, they'll start helping you, and they're also anxious, right? That's the beauty of just humanity, right? Well, we're just down to help each other.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about Vinland Saga. Yeah.
A masterpiece. At least one of my top fives for sure.
So guys, I met Matthew. We talked in high school, but we didn't really talk again until 3 years later? 3, 4?
Yeah, I think I was in my last semester of university.
Last sem, yeah. So that would have been, we graduated 2019, and then we started talking again 2023. Yeah. Right? Or was it 2022? No, 2023.
2023.
So 4 years.
Yeah.
And I hopped on the bus, and just it was a gloomy day. I didn't really feel like talking, and then I saw someone in the back. You know me, I'm always Like you tried looking away, we locked eyes, and like, yo, what's up, Matthew? And then that was it, you know?
Yeah.
We started talking a bunch and invited you to my birthday. Just started working out a bunch, and for a month straight, you know, that was the grind was there, and we got to fully know Matthew, and that's the beauty of connection, you know? Just that I've kind of realized that is the meaning of life for me personally, right? Like finding people who uplift you, and you're certainly one of those people for me.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
I would say the same for you for sure. That month, because it was right after I graduated, and I remember we had this conversation on the bus where you were like, oh, you know, if you ever want to work out, just let me know. And I thought about it for so long.
I offer that to so many people, man. I'm like, yo, if you ever want to run a marathon, if you ever want to work out, let me know. Like, I'm down to work out with anyone. I'm really.
And I think after the conversation we had, I felt that you meant it in such a genuine way that I felt comfortable enough to reach out. Yeah. That I was like, hey, you know, I think this would be a great way to kind of kick off the ending of like the worst part. I was coming out of the worst part of my life, and so like I want to hit the ground running here. And we probably worked out at least 4 days a week together for that month.
Yeah, no, it was good, man.
And had a lot of very interesting conversations.
Good conversations. And that's why I wanted you on the podcast real bad. And I mentioned Vinland Saga, and I wanted to mention, before we get into that, I wanted to mention how the friendship kind of started. And that was a big thing we talked about, right?
Yeah.
Forgiveness, and just like how some people many people will wrong you, but it's within yourself to forgive, right? And can you elaborate why you like talking about Vinland Saga?
I think Vinland Saga is just such a beautiful story about forgiveness, pacifism, and purpose.
And let's give the viewers a summary.
Okay, so it revolves around a story of a young boy whose father was killed by mercenaries, and basically he tags along with this group of mercenaries to try to get strong enough to eventually take down their leader and to take revenge for his father. And so it follows his character Thorfinn, who's so full of anger and hate and revenge.
Yeah. Just killed so many people.
Yeah. And spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler. Oh, jeez.
When the person he wants to defeat is killed before his very eyes, he has this crisis of what have I been doing? Because this has been my life from like the age of 6 to 16, 10 years of his life down the drain because the one purpose he had is gone.
He was just so focused on this one thing filled with hate, and just when that was taken away from him, right? Like, and he envisioned that I'm sure he envisioned him doing the act as well. He realized it wasn't enough, and that wasn't fulfilling, and that was just such a negative, such a hateful, and what's the word? Futile. Way of living your life. Right? And there's this, before his father died, he goes, you have no enemies. Right? Did he say that?
Yeah, we have no enemies. He said it twice. He said it once when he found, when the young boy found his father's like war gear. And he was like, this is so cool, this is awesome, like swords are cool. And he's like, we have no use for that. We have no enemies. Like, there's nobody who could wrong us so bad that we should enact harm on them. Which just gives me chills thinking about, like the way they wrote a story about trying to be kind and not hurt other people and to be a pacifist in a time where everything was about war. And, you know, the strongest are the fighters. But they're trying to reframe it in a way that the strongest are those who don't have to. Or can be, you know, countercultural. It's really amazing.
Yeah, man. It's just when you're in that mindset where just it's war and it's fighting and it's just fueled with hate. And then when the second part, I haven't seen it myself. It was Bryce, my other friend, was telling me, who's super into Vinland Saga as well, was telling me about how the second part's all about forgiveness.
Yeah.
Right? And once it's said and done, and I believe no one is perfect, right? That we all, in one shape or another, one day you're just gonna make mistakes, and right? And I know for me, it's way harder to forgive myself sometimes, right? And I don't know if it's like that for people, but
yeah,
it's just when you do an act and you kind of carry this with you, and you know it's a bad thing, right? I think for majority of people, we all kind of know what's good and bad. And
like a innate level of morality.
Yeah, because when I was like, I stole some pesos in my mom's purse, and I was like 5. I knew it was wrong, but like, wanted to buy some chocolate with it or chips, but it's just. But nobody really, I don't think I was taught that, even when I was like, for as long as I could remember, it's just, we all know. Like, I feel like some innate gift, it's just.
Yeah, some say that's conscience, right? The innate, like, idea of humans know right from wrong. And this is actually a very interesting topic, because something that you see is that animals debatably don't have conscience. They're driven by behavior and reaction from environment. So like, let's say the dog I used to have, his name's Murphy, he once ate an entire box of Purdy's hedgehogs and lived to tell the tale.
Wow.
Yeah. But you could scold them, but they only have that appearance of feeling bad because you're scolding them, not because they know what they did was wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
That's true. I mean, I got my dogs as well, and if you give them unlimited food, they will eat until they pass out.
Yeah.
Right? And they'll just keep eating. And they don't feel really any remorse. Maybe they'll get fat, right? But like, it's not like they'll look in the mirror and go,
what have I
done? Right?
Yeah,
they start. But that's a beauty of it too, right? I take so many lessons from animals. Sometimes they're my dogs. I love my dogs, Milo and Nito. They do things because they don't second guess themselves. It's beautiful that way. And I think so many of us would be free,
right,
if we did that. But it's easier said than done, right? Because when you do something, you start second guessing yourself. Is this the right thing? Is this worth it? Am I doing the right thing? Should I donate? Should I hit the gym? Should I study? Should I indulge in alcohol? Should I smoke some weed? Right? Is this the right thing? But at the end of the day, I've realized nobody actually knows if it's the right thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, sure, there are like actual human crimes, right? We all know. But then, like, kind of for people that are civilized, for people like us that are just, we want to spread as much positivity or trying to live a worthy life.
Yeah. Or seek fulfillment.
Yeah. It's hard to tell. But that's why I'm Christian, so I think I just read the Bible and I go to church and I think of Jesus. Yeah. And it's something to lean on for me.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the biggest sacrifice right there. And I'm Christian as well. I guess I'd consider myself ex-Catholic. I don't know if I can consider myself Catholic anymore. But somebody so loved us that they could have their only son killed for us and for our sins is really touching.
I think that's just, when I think of that, man, I feel so liberated. I going back to not knowing anything, right? And just how we were put on this earth for a reason, and there's someone mighty and someone like beyond our imagination, beyond all physical, that made us in their own image. Yeah. In his own image. just liberates me. And at times, you know, that there is doubt, and there is like, I'm not like very, very like I'm not a fanatic about it, and
right.
But it is a good way for me to kind of release some emotion. And
for sure.
How does religion play into your life?
I guess right now, it's taken a bit of a back burner in the recent few years. I mean, I used to go to church every weekend. Hasn't happened so much lately, but I honestly, the best way I find in my life right now to be religious is spend time in nature. It's got a weird spiritual kind of energy to it, where like you're spending time in God's creation. And I think
nature is such like a stress reliever. Anytime I'm around trees, around the pond, and I see the waters flow, and I hear the birds chirping, just like, wow, I want to get closer to this. Anytime I'm in the city, man, I was just in New York in December. I don't know, I don't feel fulfilled. I don't know what it is, bro. Like, I think nature, like being one with nature it's so fulfilling. It's so cathartic.
Yeah, for sure.
When you're stressed, do you go on like nature walks?
Personally, right now, like I like to hike. I like to do a lot of stuff outdoors. Lately, I've been trying to get back into archery. So.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It's been nice to just spend time outside. It's a little cold right now, but
you actually did pretty well in archery back in high school, right? Like you got to nationals.
Yes, I went to nationals.
Tell everyone kind of your archery background.
Yeah, I started at a pretty young age because my dad's a hunter. So, but I kind of took it in a different direction into the more competitive target archery environment, and I stopped for a long time because it got to the point where school was definitely my number one priority, and that was kind of late high school into university. But I still kept all my gear, and I'm finally at that place in my life where I have both the time and energy and mindset to be able to do that again, which is so I feel like blessed.
That's awesome.
Because it was something that I did before for other people and not necessarily for myself entirely. But now to rediscover it on my own has been really nice.
Can you touch on that? Doing it for other people?
Yeah. So I think at the time, my family's very sports oriented. I'm not very sporty. Like I guess in high school I played badminton and I did archery and that growing up. But I think I was trying to do that and compete for my family more so than I was actually trying to, like it wasn't necessarily a goal that I had for myself. And I just wanted to make people in my life happy because that's a way they can understand like achievements, right? Winning a game, placing at a tournament, that's easy for them to understand, whereas in a place of like academia, that goal is so far away. And like, sure, you're doing well on tests or whatever, but the realization of all that doesn't happen for a really long time.
So do you feel it's more fulfilling if you do it for yourself?
Oh,
rather than
definitely, because you are setting your goals, right? You have skin in the game because you're investing your time and money into it, and you're basically going out of your way to make it happen. Whereas I guess at the time it was my parents were taking us to tournaments and potentially spending money on gear, registration for fees, hotels and whatnot. Whereas now if I was to get back into competing, that's all on me. But it's also because I want to do it. Not necessarily where, as before, you might feel obligated because they're spending so much money. Or because they want you to, achieve something.
And I was just on the plane, and this thought came up where, hey, if the plane does crash, you have to put on, they even tell it to you in the video manuals, the instructions, you have to help yourself before you help others. I feel like when you prioritize yourself first, when you do archery for yourself, when you find a fulfilling job, then you're at a place where you can help other people, right? Because if you're continuously sacrificing yourself for other people, you will break, and it will come out in very ugly ways, right? And that's kind of what I've learned too, where I go for my saunas and I go for my runs for me, right? For when I go work out, for me, when I study, for me, right? Because at the end of the day, you know, once it's all said and done, I want to do it for other people, right? Because that's where you experience so much happiness, or you feel fulfilled, then you can start helping other people.
Yeah, for sure.
And how does what's it called? When your relationships, right? How do you draw the line between doing it for yourself and doing it for others? Because you don't want to be sacrificing yourself too much, right? But at the same time, you kind of have to make sacrifices.
Definitely.
You are a son, right? You are a boyfriend, right? And you're moved out now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it's kind of trying to find a balance. I mean, there is a definite line of like self-sacrifice where, but it also can depend on a relationship you have with other people. Because I mean, a true relationship is not 50-50. And it probably will never be 50-50. And the percentage of effort that you put into a relationship probably fluctuates a lot. Because some people might be on their up and the other might be on their low, right? But it all adds to 100%. But I think definitely doing things for yourself can help you be in a place to properly help other people. However, there are times where somebody might not be in a great state, be that physical, mental, emotional, and can still help other people. It's a really tough question.
And when you're helping people and you're suffering as well, and you kind of release that vulnerability too, that you help each other.
Right. It's mutual.
Right. And I've been in many situations like that where I'm in a vulnerable state and I see someone and I can kind of sense their emotion. I see that they're going through some stuff.
Yeah.
And I can connect in that way.
Yeah.
I feel like that, going back to what you said about mutual suffering, it's right, and when it's about real life stuff, right? It's just, it's a lot more soul bounding. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's beautiful though. And you said that somebody, it's never going to be 50-50, because there's going to be people that are like maybe 70%, and then maybe their partner is 30%, and in all friendships and all like even in marriage, I have no you know, I probably don't have any experience with marriage, because I never really, but I think friendships and kind of even being a son, being a brother, I think they're all kind of, it's very similar.
Yeah, it is. It's like, I think you have to, if you're looking at it from a place of like, you know, is my friendship worth it or something like that.
Yeah.
It's always, you want to, I personally would look at the net benefit. Like, are you giving and getting? It doesn't necessarily have to be equal, but is what you're getting out of it worth what you're putting in?
Yeah. Tell me your experience with social anxiety.
Yeah, okay. So I have GAD, or generalized anxiety disorder. It's something that I've struggled with my entire life, but I didn't know that's what it was. I thought I was normal. To put it into perspective, from a very young age, I was worried about things that people my age don't typically worry about, but I thought it was very normal. Like things like lockdowns at school. I was paranoid in elementary school that people were going to come to the school and like.
Where did this stem from?
Did you no clue?
Like news? Maybe you heard like your brother was scaring you or something?
No, it's just something like we had a drill and then I was just like paranoid, wired, like yeah, and like people I was worried. I was always worried. This is like elementary age, people breaking into our house at night. Like I'd hear bump in the night, and I couldn't sleep.
You would be like 8, and you'd be like, "Wow, my family's gonna get murdered.
Yeah.
Or I'm gonna get kidnapped, and they're gonna do bad stuff."
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, and I went to a therapist at a young age, and my parents were like, he's worried about things that I don't think are normal, and the therapist asked me if I thought other kids my age were worried about this stuff, and I thought, oh yeah, this is normal. It very obviously wasn't, but as I got older, it manifested in different ways. So I say I'm pretty socially anxious. I struggle in a lot of scenarios or situations that aren't like one-on-one. Like I find oftentimes in group settings, I'm that one that's listening but not necessarily interacting as much as the other people. And I really find I thrive in smaller social situations. And I guess other things being social anxiety, I don't necessarily like crowds all that much. So that was kind of amplified when COVID started because everything got shut down and I didn't have to be around other people. It was kind of like I was able to give in to the anxious thoughts and feelings I was having. And not I didn't have to work on it for a long time, which was, I would consider a little bit damaging at the time, because it got to a point where I would go to school after COVID and I would feel paranoid. But not really for any reason.
So is it because you're scared about what other people may think of you, or is it just
that's
like
definitely one part of it. Yeah.
When you talk to a crowd, right, or when you see a crowd, are you thinking, obviously a lot of it's irrational, right? Sure. And you know it. You know it's irrational. Are they saying, is it like about your looks, or is it just the way you talk, or is
all
it the way you dress?
I just don't want to, make a fool of myself in any way. But
maybe did it stem from maybe like an embarrassing experience in elementary or maybe kindergarten?
No, it's just excessive worrying. It's like you worry about things beyond your control. You worry about things that are in your control, and it's like instead of living in the now, you're so concerned with what's to come.
Yeah, that's insane, man. It's just, it stemmed from, and you found out when you were in elementary because you went to see, you were diagnosed with anxiety.
I was not diagnosed until I was 21, I think.
But you saw a therapist, and the therapist said that it was all okay, it was normal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And wow. So when you went to class, like looking around, how did it make you feel when you were just sitting in class as an elementary student? Because the kids are pretty mean, man. Like I think that's the stage where so many kids will just say whatever they want, and then like I think a lot of kind of mean things that people have said to me were in elementary, or middle school.
Yeah, I don't know if I was ever a victim of anything like that I can remember. I just tended to worry excessively about things that were so abnormal. Like stuff like presentations were always so tough, and or like plays and skits that we had to do for our classes were always like, they'd make me feel nauseous or dizzy and stuff like that. And I knew it was irrational because even when it came to middle school or high school, I'd been with this group of people since elementary school. It still never felt easier, even though I'd been with those people for like 10 years.
What helps you?
I find one of the biggest things with anxiety is I did short-term therapy, and I found that was probably one of the most beneficial experiences for that, because they are able to either help you dial back the scale of the problems you're making in your head, or they give you the tools to address the feelings that you're feeling. and properly deal with them. So like one of the biggest things I think that was mentioned on here before when you were talking to Adri was looking at the worst case scenario and gauging how bad is it really, like in the grand scheme of things, is going up in front of your peers to do presentation going to be the end for you? Definitely not. What's the worst that you happen? You stutter and maybe somebody giggles or something. But what does that mean? Not much if you really think about it, right? It still doesn't make it any easier, but it helps to calm nerves, definitely. Something that I have been through is getting medicated. I found it really helps the baseline level of stress and anxiety that I go through on like a day-to-day basis, where like, you know, you introduce yourself to somebody and you'd spend time thinking about, oh, did I make a good impression, or oh, did I what did they think about me, and obsessively worrying about it. Honestly, I don't think twice about it very much anymore.
And what's the big difference that you find before being medicated and then after?
It's like the baseline level of worrying and stress about things that are out of my control is definitely lower.
What would you worry about? Would it just be about like just work, money, or
usually interactions with people, or like definitely through school it was like presentations. So like we had a class where we had to give 5-minute talks about something, and another big thing that helped with those was picking something you're passionate about, because sometimes passion can overrule those feelings if you feel confident about what you're talking about. So that was something that was,
I think for me, I think when I'm anxious about talking to someone, usually it stems from me assuming that they're just gonna say something mean, like, or they'll just ignore me. That's a big thing when people don't hear me sometimes, and I'll be like, hey, and I'll have to repeat myself, and then when it's the third time and it's like in my head I'm like, this person hates me, this person wants to end the relationship even though I've done so much for them, even though we've built this up. It's just so irrational, right? And it's just like, how do you find tools for irrational kind of doom and gloom ending relationship thoughts like these?
That's one of the really tough things, is like I'm no expert, but something that helps me is assume that everybody has the best intentions for you, right? Like, I don't know if I've ever met anybody that I think is out to get me, and so why would I be led to have the feelings that they are, or like they have something wrong with me?
Like they sometimes I feel like they'll find out, they'll reel me. They'll find out like, oh, like I'm this person that I'm not meant to be here, and they'll just call me out, and I'm exposed, right? And it's just that thought of like, people are good, right? And like, when you're anxious about these things, like for the majority of the world, like we wouldn't be able to. A conversation like this, it's very civil, right? We set up a time and you go to school. It's all structured. Like it's just so, negativity is just so much more powerful. Right? Like 10 things, you can go through 10 positive interactions with someone, but then one person acts like an asshole, and you're thinking about that person. Like I'm still thinking about the person that harassed me at work. Just horrible guy, just like didn't like me. He had his own like problems, right? And I don't fault him for it, but I just like, why would he do that to me, right? And I just keeps replaying in my head, and that causes some anxiety, right? When you meet another person with anxiety, do you kind of click? Do you kind of like you see the telltale signs? Like, does it make you more comfortable, or does it just make you even more anxious?
Well, I think a lot of times how it manifests is like you're both really awkward, but that's okay because you understand that like that feeling.
You know what it's like.
Yeah,
mutual suffering.
Exactly. Well, yeah, that's what it is. I mean, if the other person doesn't have anxiety, that's where I think in my mind it plays up like, oh, this person thinks I'm acting weird or something. Like I have to be super conscious about what I'm doing. Almost the idea of like masking. I don't know if you heard about that.
I have like where you put on this front that's not you.
Yeah.
To please the other person, to make sure they don't think you're an idiot.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't be authentic though. What, masking?
Not necessarily, but I mean it's I guess putting on a front, but to feel like you can fit in, or to show others what you specifically want them to see, right?
So are you just tailoring kind of your thought, the words that come out of your mouth or your actions to make this person like you? But at the end of the, like, why does this person matter though? Like, what if there's someone who you don't really like talking to, and like,
yeah,
right?
Well, that's definitely tough, because you're showing an inauthentic version of yourself, hoping they're gonna like your authenticity. But that's not coming through at all. And I mean, that's the thing is, the people that really like you for who you are, you shouldn't have to do that around.
Yeah, true. But what if you're authentic and you're an actual asshole?
That's a rough situation. I don't know if I have an answer for that one.
Yeah, maybe you need to do some little introspection in that one, right? Yeah. Maybe you gotta change. Maybe you look into yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I would say look for common denominators in different things. Like, you know, the idea of all my friendships turn out poorly.
Bro, there are some people that I've talked to, and they're very likable at the start, and then they complain a lot, and then they talk about how this friendship went bad, this relationship went awry, and they're like, maybe they're divorced, and then you realize there's a pattern, right? It's like, wait, maybe then you realize, oh, it's not the other people, it's actually them, right? How do you weed out people like these?
I don't know if I've encountered a lot of people like that though. I think it's like, I like to take it on a case-by-case basis or an individual basis, because how a person acts with me might be very different than how they act with other people. And I mean, I try and keep previous stuff out of it unless it's like really bad.
Yeah.
Like, it's tough.
Yeah. But with do you find that anxiety actually helps you sometimes? Like when you're worrying sometimes, for me, like if I have some sort of worry in me that's like very, very irrational. But sometimes it actually kind of helps, you know, where it's like you're motivated to do certain things, or you get things done.
Yeah.
Like, do you find it kind of it goes in your favor?
It's like a drive.
Yeah.
Honestly, before I was diagnosed, I think it helped in like school, in like elementary through high school, because I was so worried about getting in trouble and not getting stuff done that like my stuff was done on time, correctly handed in, like because I was so stressed out about having the teacher like come and talk to me and be like, you're not submitting your assignments. Like, that stressed me out.
But there are kids that literally, kids like me, like, just didn't do it. Just didn't do it. Get the emails.
I was just so unbelievably worried about, like, disciplinary figures, too. I mean, like, I get really crazy anxiety around police officers.
Wow. What about, like, getting called on in class?
Oh, terrifying.
Yeah.
Unless I raise my hand, terrifying.
Yeah. Do you ever raise your hand?
Oh, yeah. I would if I was, once again, confident enough in my answer.
Okay.
But I mean, also at times I'd have where, like, I was confident in my answer, but I was like, oh, if I'm wrong, everybody's going to laugh at me. But I shouldn't be wrong. But if I am, like,
But, what was I going to say? What if the teacher just called on you?
Yeah, that's stressful. That's really stressful.
Did you ever have a meltdown?
No, nothing that serious. But it would. I would think about it for a while.
Yeah.
And I would probably think of like, oh, was I doing something wrong at the time that they felt the need to call on me, like, or was I do they have are they out to get me? Am I misbehaving or something?
Yeah. That's a crazy thing about anxiety, hey, is it's just so irrational, and I feel like it's rising, man. Like, I feel like more, or maybe it's just more and more people are opening up about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I find that it's just, even in me, sometimes, I don't know what it is. Is it the food we're eating? Is it the social media? Is it just, who knows?
Yeah.
But definitely, it's great to just be understanding.
Yeah.
Right? Because I feel like there's so many people out there that just kind of, since it's not happening to them, they just go, oh, like, why?
That's
like,
so
why
strange,
would they? That's so strange, you know? And then they kind of just brush it off as like, you know, this is another person and I don't want anything to do with them.
Yeah.
But then as soon as it happens to them, then it's all like, whoa, like looking back. Like, that's happened to me, right? I was a firm believer of like, bro, like, you got depression, like, get over it. You know, type thing where, but then when I kind of experienced a lot of, you know, low points, like very depressed, and while it's not like in the clinical sense where I know depression is, where things are going all right, and you're still depressed, and that's a thing that I've heard a psychologist describe it as
clinical depression.
Yeah, where for me things were like actually just miserable, like the situation was really bad. That's why I was depressed. Yeah, and there was a reason. Yeah. But now, I reflect on what it's like for those people, and I'm like, wow, if things are going well, and you're actually still down.
Yeah, like, because it's the same feelings, the same chemicals in the brain.
Yeah.
How awful would it be if things were good situationally, but you still felt the same way as you did when things weren't well. Yeah. It's so, there's so much distraught in there because and like hopelessness, like there's no reason for me to feel this way. So you search and you search and you search and you can't find it.
Yeah. That's nuts. Sorry, I'm just gonna check who's. Hey buddy, we're just filming something, right? Is it okay if you go in there? It's just making a lot of noise. Okay, well, say hi to my friend, though. It's Charles. Have you met Charles?
I don't think I've met you.
You wanna shake his hand? We're just talking about depression and stuff, you know?
we played My Singing Monsters together.
Yeah, he's in our class.
Nice to meet you, buddy.
Shake. Okay. Yeah, thanks, buddy. Just inside there. We're almost done, okay? Are you okay? Yeah, sure. When you're done, we're done soon. We're done soon. Should I leave that in? In the video, but maybe I don't know about the. That's funny. Dude, I was just like, who's humming? Who's humming?
I mean, this does give us a good leaping point here.
Yeah.
Something we talked about at the gym that I thought was really cool because I had never met anybody that thought in a similar way as me is the idea of legacy. The idea that you want something that transcends your lifetime, or like for you, I always remember you telling me, like, if I can reach one person with my my ideas,
long term,
you'd be happy. Yeah, with the idea of long-term mindset.
I said
you'd be happy.
I said that?
I think so.
Because I thought it was newly found in me. I've been repeating that in my head, but like, damn, I said it. It's still pretty old now then. Because like, I was experiencing a lot of doubt, even with this podcast, even like, you know, I'm very upfront, like, I'm very just, hey, you can do it. Anyone can do it. If you just dream and you try, that the idea of effort, right? You can leave an impact in this world. Yeah. And you can be fulfilled and you can live a life worth living, right? And kind of that doubt in me kind of creeps up and go, oh man, but I really don't, I haven't done anything in life, right? I'm still just, you know, I'm nothing, right? And it's just, I kind of push myself down and don't give myself enough credit. And then I started thinking, okay, what if I just reach one person with this? Maybe I just turn it around for one person, give them a 180. Yeah. That'd be way better than 10 people just kind of, maybe they appreciate it and right? And that's okay. But
Yeah.
one person actually just taking it to heart, an interaction that's so much more powerful than like when you watch a movie and you feel fulfilled. Like that's a great movie,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't actually get that one-on-one. You don't like, because I feel like with friendship, right, with talking to people and actually spending time with them, you could change their lives,
Yeah,
right? And that's like
sure.
so much more than like being like a like Elon Musk, right? Sure,
Yeah.
he's changed so many lives, but there's other ways that you can change another person's life.
Yeah.
Albeit to a bigger degree, to a more impactful way, but just to one person.
Right.
I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that definitely resonates with me. And like,
Yeah.
I tried to assure you at the end of our gym session
Yeah.
of that 1
Yeah.
month, I was like,
Mhm.
you did that for me. Because
Yeah.
I mean, I was so
Or you did that for me too, man.
I'm so grateful that I was able to start that
Mhm.
part of my life off on a really positive note and with like such a good mindset.
Yeah.
And so that one goal of reaching one person, it's complete, man. I'm telling you now.
Bro, we had a great time, man. Like that's just the talks. I look forward to it. Like I was, my schedule was work from, I think it was pretty late in the night too. Like we started working out at like 8:30.
Yeah.
And we were talking about anime, like Vinland Saga, even like your idea of One Punch Man, where like there's always gonna be someone better, and you need to be comfortable with that. And you need to accept that, and just little things like that. And then I got to open up about kind of my story, kind of my side, and you just listened. And right, and it is both ways too, because you told me all these the PTSD thing, and it's still like I still tell so many people about it. And I'm like, Matthew PTSD, but now he's in a company where he feels fulfilled and he's moved out and he's doing great, and just that point in that 1 month was great. Not only for me, for you, but man, it goes both ways.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That's really good to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. That was very fulfilling, and I'm very thankful for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Thanks for you too.
Thank you. I know I say this a lot too. This is only the beginning.
Yeah.
We're young.
Yeah, it's crazy to
crazy?
think about.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm a very long-term planner. Like, stuff. I like to think about the future a lot. Like 5-10 years down the line. What do I want my life to look like? What am I working towards? Mm-hmm. It's also important to be present at the same time. Mm-hmm. And to be thankful for what you have and the opportunities that you've been given and stuff like that. So
that's what I find tough too, because I'm the same as you. I think in decades sometimes.
Yeah.
I think like, okay, when I'm 50, I'm gonna live a life worth living. But then at the same time, when I think about that too much, I'm like, I don't feel it in the moment.
Right.
I'm just like doing things. I'm like, oh gosh, I'm not in the moment, right?
Yeah.
And that takes away from happiness, definitely.
Yeah.
Especially when you start to be very pessimistic about the future and you start thinking about things that could go wrong. But what helps is you can do both. Like you can think about the future, and also just when you're having a conversation with someone, remind yourself this is now.
Mm-hmm.
This is all that we've got.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Are there any practices that you do? And I know you've already said one practice where it's not the end of the world, right? That your therapist gave to you.
Yeah.
Are there any other practices where you?
I think right now, since I'm fortunate enough to be in a good place in my life in terms of like mentally and emotionally, that like I'm taking a step back and going, this right now, what I'm experiencing is where I wanted to be 5 years ago. Like I'm living it,
bro.
Things are going.
I feel that.
Things are going, and I have the things that I like. I've met my goals, and to, for lack of better words, revel in it. Like enjoy what you have,
For sure.
because 5 years ago or however long ago, this is what you wanted, right? And to remember, yes, you can look towards the future, but at one point you were looking towards this moment you are in now.
When we were in elementary, we were like, oh man, we're going to be in middle school. And then middle school, oh man, we're in high school, uni, or even in uni, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But then lots of people, I'm guilty of this many times, but like I'm kind of waking up and I remind myself that, hey, this, even right now, this is what I look forward to. You know, this is what starting a podcast, having Matthew on it, right? Like, this is what I wanted, right? This is it. This is all we got.
This at one point you dreamt, not dreamt, like literally, but this was your aspiration, you're doing it.
I think I may have dreamt this.
Yeah.
But it's a great way to kind of, like, a life worth living is to remind yourself of now and what you have. Right? Because, you know, they say the days are long, but the years are short. I don't know who said that, but I feel that.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, thinking about that, like university school went by fast, but there was definitely some long days.
Yeah, when in the struggle, right? But that's the beauty of the struggle too, though. Right? When you look back, you're like, wow, I struggled. What if you didn't struggle?
Yeah.
What if you didn't? What if everything came easy? What if everything was perfect? Then that wouldn't be life.
Right.
And then if that wouldn't be life, then what is that? That's like an illusion. Yeah. Some people think that way, you know? They think that, like, I gotta take the... I know you want to talk about meritocracy. The idea of working hard for something. What if life was perfect, right? And everything, there was no disease, there's no death, there was no nothing. Then what's the point?
Yeah.
Why are we here?
There is nothing.
There's nothing. And if we have everything, there's nothing. Right? Like, what if there was no kind of the thought of, okay, I could die at any day, or I could lose my relationships, or then we just be like, what? It's hedonism. We just like party all the time and just be as pleasure, like
seek the short term dopamine. Yeah.
And then what? Then would there be pain though in that reality? I don't know.
It's tough.
Yeah, I ponder on that a lot. But let's talk about meritocracy. The idea of effort.
Yes.
Right?
So I guess to start off, meritocracy is the idea that in a government sense, that the people in power in society, be that socially, economically, are put there because of their abilities, achievements, and skill set, rather than class, social background, and stuff like that. But I think it's a very interesting way to think about society in which you work for what you have. If everybody is given the same hand, same dealing hand, right? The people that work the hardest are gonna go the furthest.
I feel that. I mean, if you have people that want to get the job, you get the person that is capable. You don't get the person because equality, or like I'm a believer of equality. I'm also a believer of, okay, you put in the work, you get the fruits of your labor.
Yeah.
Right. If the person that runs the fastest, they're gonna win the race. They're gonna score the best time in the marathon. But at the same time, there's also where, okay, you may not be born into, you may be born poor. Maybe you have like disease or all of this.
Yeah.
Now, how do we account for people like those? Right?
Yeah, that's the in the mind experiment of a meritocracy. That's the problem, is that there's a lack of equity because of the equality. So it looks great because the people that are exceeding and doing the best are running society, but what happens to the people that aren't or can't?
They just get pushed aside.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the problematic aspect of it. But I mean, I think now in society right now, you can work hard and get what you want.
Yeah, you can. I'm a firm believer. For majority of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like if you're a healthy individual, right, and you're just graduating high school, especially in Canada, actually, I'm a firm believer of this because I've lived in Canada for most of my life. if you want to be a doctor, if you want to be a lawyer, if you want to be an engineer, if you want to be the nurse, teacher, astronaut, you can. Edmonton's got all the opportunities. Right?
Yeah.
Even if you're starting off from a position where you have financial distress, and there's still a way. There's a way here.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to the idea of, but you can't give up. You have to put in the work every day, and it's gonna be harder.
It's not gonna be an equal amount of work across the board. You
might
might have to work harder than some people to get there.
You might need to put in 1,000 times versus a person that was born into wealth, that was born intelligent, that was born of privilege. And you know what? I know this with a lot of people that hating on these people doesn't do much. Like you could say, oh, like this person, I don't like this person because they were born into this wealth, this intelligence. Me, I got the bad genetics. Like I can never run as fast, or I can never do this. But then what? You're just gonna lay all day and do nothing? No, you can put in 1,000%, right? You can put in all sweat, blood, tears, and then you can get to that level. And instead of being hateful, you can, accept that this is reality, and you go after it, get after it.
Yeah, and you can also lift people up with you.
Yes, that's what I found with working out, with running. Right?
Yeah, I mean, something that I take solace in with weightlifting is everybody starts somewhere. Yeah. Right. And that's one of my biggest things about going to the gym is like my bench press is so weak, and I'm a pretty decently sized guy. Yeah. My bench press is really weak for my size, and I'm scared of people being like, oh, what the heck, he's only benching like 100.
Bro, gym, a lot of guys don't really care. They're more concerned about themselves, right? But going back to the rational thought, right?
Yeah, no, I definitely understand it's irrational. That's the thing.
But have you been making good progress?
Well, luckily enough for me, work is pretty physical. Climbing on stuff and stuff like that, and I get a lot of steps in. Good. But gym, not so much. I do want to. I want to do it in a way that I know I'm going to be comfortable and be able to continue it.
Bro, come to Millennium, man. I'm done at Anytime Fitness because it's just too expensive, man. It's just, and then the people. I do it for the people, right? And there's more people I can reach there. You listen to the podcast, long-term podcast.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, it's more of a networking. But yeah, if you ever want to hit a workout sometime, Millennium.
I guess my plan, I want to build a gym at my place.
Bro, and then once it's all ready, man, invite me over. Let's hit some chest or something.
Yeah.
Some legs. But I think is there anything you want to add on to the effort side of things? I think we...
if anything, it's like you can work hard and achieve what you want. I like to think that I tell people that I'm a lucky person, but I really... You're blessed. I really do think that I've worked for what I have.
You did.
And like it didn't come easy, even though I just think I stumbled upon it.
Bro, but life will never come easy. I think I repeat this so many times.
Yeah.
Even today, man. Today was a struggle. I went to church. I went to go for a 5K, hit the sauna, preparing for this. It's all difficult, but it's those difficult things that are worth it.
Yeah.
It's those things where you kind of look back and you go, that was worth having. Like that was it. But not all difficult things are worth having, though. Because, I mean, if you see someone with a Lamborghini, right, or like maybe a trophy wife, right, and people think they're all that and like power, sure, it's worth having, or sure, it's hard to get, but it may not be worth having. Right? That's the one thing that, because not every, sure, it takes a lot of effort to get a good body, to get money, to get education, but it may not be aligned with your values.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah, because maybe you see someone with a Lamborghini, right? You don't know whether they just want to crash that into the next wall. You don't know that. That's
very true.
Yeah. Like, maybe they are rich, right? But I don't know. That's another topic, man. We need to get another podcast in, actually.
Oh, that would be
We've been going for an hour and 20. Or was it? Is this like 2 hours? Is that correct?
Jeez.
I don't know if that's 2 hours. Wait. Okay. I don't know if it's quite a long time. I don't know if it's actually 2 hours, but thank you for coming on. You're a very close friend of mine. I'm thankful for you, and this is only the beginning.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to be here and sit where several other long-term people have sat before me. So
keep it long-term, everyone. Pray for peace. I love adding that. I love Mark Wahlberg.
Sweet.